1918, the Great War ended, and the Treaty of Versailles was signed thereafter. With this, President Woodrow Wilson decreed that November 11th be dedicated to the cause of world peace and to be hereafter celebrated and known as Armistice Day. This day was created to award tribute to all veterans of World War I. However, after World War II, a time that warranted the largest mobilization of U.S. soldiers, Marines, sailors, and airmen in the nation's history, after American forces had fought aggression in Korea, and after millions more took honorable roles in protecting this nation, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed the Veterans Day Proclamation in 1954. With the approval of this legislation, November 11th became a day to honor American veterans of all wars. This day continues to be a day of celebration to honor our veterans for their patriotism, love of country, and willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. At the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, we have a moment of silence to honor all veterans of all branches of the United States military. Please join us now in that moment.
Amen. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the patio at Ripley's Aquarium of the Smokies. Thank you all for being here. My name is Don Dare. I'm from WATE-TV. I am a Vietnam veteran. I served in the U.S. Army from 1968 until 1972, and I'm proud to be an American veteran. You know, on Veterans Day, we celebrate and honor all U.S. veterans, deceased or living. It's not to be confused with Memorial Day, right? A day to remember those who gave the ultimate sacrifice of their lives. On Veterans Day, we honor the generations of men and women who served and sacrificed, not as a person or a place, but for an ideal unlike any other, the idea of the United States of America. For nearly 250 years, our veterans have defended the values that make us strong so that as a nation we can be the what? Beacon of freedom. And I see many of you nodding. Today we honor the incredible faith of our veterans that they hold in America. They are the steel spine of our nation and their families. You are the courageous heart of the spine. Most Americans never see the sacrifices that families make, but thank you, family members who are here today. In a moment, we will have our invitation, presentation of colors. Jimmy Maples, a Marine, he's always a Marine, right? Once a Marine, always a Marine. Retired Gatlinburg Police Department Captain Jimmy Maples. He will lead us in the invitation. He is with American Legion Post 202. The Girl Scouts from Troop 2648 of Gatlinburg, with Kylie Patterson as their leader. They will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Miss Smoky Mountains, Miley Doty, will lead us in the National Anthem. Would you please stand for our invitation and remain standing for the presentation of colors, the Pledge of Allegiance, and the National Anthem.
Morning. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you this day, and Father, what it stands for, Father, the present, past, veterans, Father, let us remember what our forefathers fought for when they started the revolution, that they wanted this country to be free for all people, Father. And let us remember the price that was paid, not just in the Revolutionary War, but all the wars present and past, Father. Let us remember that the three things that were important to our forefathers was God, family, country. Father, just let us keep that in mind. Father, just bless this great mighty nation. Father, just bless each and every veteran present, and past. Father, just lead us and guide us. God bless the USA. Amen.
There, halt. Left, right. Post, colors, got you. Right space, post, colors. Present, arms.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rang there, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Right space. Forward, mark.
Please take your seats. Miley, thank you so much. American Legion Post 202, thank you. Interesting about the Honor Guard, this is just one of the things that they do. American Legion Post 202, their Honor Guard, they serve as Honor Guards at funerals for service members across our area. Thank you very much. Ladies from the Girl Scout troop, thank you as well. At this time, I'd like to introduce some of the dignitaries who are here on this Veterans Day. And I'm going to ask them to stand up and just turn around. Vice Mayor Mark McCown. Mark, would you stand up? Hold your applause till afterwards. City Manager Greg Patterson. Greg, would you stand up? Commissioners Chad Reagan, Jay Horner, Seth Butler, and Roger Sims. Would you all stand up? Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause for being here on this day. You know, Gatlinburg is very lucky to have such an active commission because this place is really booming, especially in the last, 20, 30, 40 years? I remember coming in 1977, 75, a long time ago, and there wasn't a lot here. It was closed in the winter, but now it's open all year round. And that's because of the leadership of men like Gatlinburg Mayor Mike Werner. Mike, come on up.
We want to welcome everyone here this morning. And the first thing that came to my mind thinking about this day is freedom is not free. And we all know who's responsible for paying the cost to give us all freedom. It's each and every one of you veterans. And from the bottom of our heart, we appreciate everything you've done for us and for the example that you set for the rest of the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Remember when some of us were kids, we used to read about what Veterans Day is like, and you used to study it in school? Well, you know that the Gatlinburg Pittman High School Band has got some history lessons about Veterans Day. Mariah Waller is back there leading them, and they will now lead us in some star-studded song entitled God Bless America. Thank you, Ms. Yarna. Thank you, Mrs. Waller. Thank you, high school group. Boy, what a wonderful group of kids over there. Our first guest speaker today is Bernie Coprince. Bernie is the mother of late Lance Corporal William C. Coprince Jr. He was killed in Iraq on December 27th of 2006. Bernie and her late husband, Bill, became Gold Star parents on that horrific day, a title that no one wants. But today, Bernie continues to honor our veterans in many different ways. She was the president of the Knoxville area chapter of Gold Star Mothers for 4 years. She was a member and secretary with Rolling Thunder for 4 years. She is the wreath coordinator with Wreaths Across America at Governor John Sevier State Veterans Cemetery for the past 10 years, and currently she's on the board of the Veterans Heritage Site Foundation. Please welcome Bernie Coprince.
First, let me say I'm not a public speaker. Thank you all for being here. Thank Don. He is my MC at Wreaths Across America, and he always does a great job. It's a great honor to be here today to tell you all about my son, and also to thank our veterans, but also to give you a little background. My dad was a World War II veteran. My brother-in-law was in Vietnam, and then my son was killed in Iraq, which makes me a Gold Star mom. I can tell you that being in the military, my father and my brother-in-law, they were profoundly impressed for the rest of their life over their experiences that they had had. When I was 12, my brother-in-law was deployed to Vietnam. And I remember the experience of going to the airport to drop my brother-in-law off the last time that we would see him until he returned from Vietnam. And he'd just become a father. He had a brand new baby. And my sister was there as well, I would hope. But I remember she was like pounding on the windows of the airport as he was leaving, walking down the tarmac. And I can tell you that as a 12-year-old, I was very impressed. And at that point in my life, I said, the government will never own me, tell me where to go. Fast forward 12 years, and I had a baby boy. And at that time, you didn't know what you were having before you had them. I'm not really that old, but I am old. And when he was born, one of the first things out of my mouth was, thank God we're not at war. That's how much of an impression when I was 12. You can see I did kind of lead a sheltered life, thinking we would never be at war again, but that's a good way to raise a kid, right? Well, almost 20 years later, my son comes to his dad and I, and he says he wants to join the Marines. And this was in 2003. Time stood still for me right then. I had to process that news. A million thoughts went through my mind, and I finally reacted to what he was telling us. I let him know I supported his decision, but had some questions that I thought I needed to ask him to make sure that he had not made this decision on the fly. As time grew closer for him to leave for boot camp, that scene from the airport kept replaying and replaying in my mind. And I thought, this is a hard day for us parents, but we know it's a hard day for him as well. So how are we going to react? So we put on our brave faces, spoke words of encouragement, and then with that behind us, thank God, that was a terrible day, we look forward to his boot camp graduation. This was something he wanted to do, so we had to look forward to things. And he told us, one of the things he told us was the crucible was nothing. And that's what they do as part of their graduation. So we attended his graduation very proud, and we were amazed at the man we took to lunch to celebrate his graduation from boot camp. Billy, as we called him, did 3 tours, 1 in Africa and 2 in Iraq. Around Thanksgiving time, I had a prompting to speak to my son concerning his salvation. We talked about what it meant, and he assured me he was saved, and then he spoke to the Lord every day. I felt much relief. As Christmas approached, the song, Mary, Did You Know, seemed to impress me differently this year, as I thought, how could Mary, Jesus' mother, raise her son, knowing the world would kill him? How did she make it through those dark days as she watched her son being beaten and then killed? On 12/27, 2006, I was sitting in Cracker Barrel in the North City, and I received a call on my cell phone. It was the Marines calling. I was in real estate at the time, so I couldn't hear, so I stepped into the store. They repeated themselves. I ran with the phone across the restaurant yelling to my husband, it's the Marines, it's the Marines. And what was happening was they couldn't find us because we had just built a new home in a new subdivision. It wasn't on anyone's GPS yet. So knowing they were coming to see us and they would not tell us what they were going to come and see us about. We were very shook up, and we felt we could not drive a vehicle back home. So we asked the Marines if they would meet us there, and Cracker Barrel gave us a room in which to meet them. Before they gave us the room, though, I was in the store, and I was just leaning up by the cash register, just praying and praying that he would come home warm. Nothing else, he would come home warm. Needless to say, he did not. The Marines stepped into the office where we were. He put out his white gloved hand to shake mine. I shook his hand, and his glove was all wet. And he said, "On behalf of the President of the United States, I regret to inform you." That was a tough time. We had many people rally around us and get us home and do for us what we needed to do. But in closing, please remember that each veteran signed on the dotted line that they were willing to die for our freedoms. Always take the time to honor a veteran, and as for the Gold Star families, never stop saying our loved ones' names. A soldier, Marine, sailor, airman dies twice, once on the battlefield and once when you no longer say their name. I worry that after I'm gone, who will say my son's name? His name was Lance Corporal William C. Cochran's Jr., a true hero. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernie. And at Wreaths Across America, at John Sevier Cemetery and all of them, we say the name of the deceased. We say their name so everyone knows what it means, that that person gave their life. A very special presentation for any veteran is the Quilt of Valor presentation. As many veterans know, it is quite an honor. And this morning, Wanda Tippie, who has been doing this for years, will present a Quilt of Valor to Dean Lewis, a Vietnam Air Force veteran. Wanda.
Quilt of Valor is meant to welcome home a service member or a veteran and to thank them for their service. Today we are honoring Dean Lewis. Dean served in the Air Force and he was stationed at Fort Lee Air Force Base in Virginia. He went over to Vietnam and he served 13 months in Vietnam. He was at the Tactical Air Command at Mekong River, Laos, Ho Chi Minh Trail, Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, and he was in Da Nang twice, and he served in the outpost of the Southern Highlands in Vietnam. He was part of the Royal Thai Air Force Base when he was stationed over there. And when he came back, he went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. He was in the Air Force from 1969 to 1972, and then he did 2 years of reserve after that. I also would like to say that he is also a retired detective for the Gatlinburg Police Department, and his daughter, who is accompanying him today, is our detective now. She replaced him when he retired. So at this time, I'd like to present Dean with this quilt.
Congratulations, Dean, and thank you, Wanda, for what you do. For many, many years, she's been making these quilts, and they're made all across our region, and I know every veteran is grateful. You know, when we were in the military, we had to learn our song. For some of us, it was a long time ago. But this morning, we are going to hear our song, remember? From the halls of Montezuma, and then off we go into, I don't remember. Caissons go rolling, oh, yeah, anyway. We're going to hear those songs here from the Gatlinburg Pittman High School Concert Band, and when your song is played, anybody here from the U.S. Coast Guard? Hey, your song will be played, so you better stand up. Ladies and gentlemen, songs of the service. You will get down to do 20 till you remember that Coast Guard song. They didn't do that, I don't think. Coast Guard didn't do that. I don't know my recollection. There are still 1,400 men missing in action. Most of them from the Vietnam War, many from the Korean War, even many more from World War II. We have over here to your right, my left, the POW MIA table. And Jimmy Maples will now tell us about its significance. Jimmy?
As you know, there's a price to pay. Freedom's not free. And we've already heard about the price. And these are known as prisoner of wars missing in action. And as I was doing research, there's different numbers on how many from every war we've fought, POWs and MIAs, but the consensus that it's over 82,000 POWs, MIAs, in all the wars we fought. And but for the grace of God, that could have been any veteran in this list, the POW, MIA. And we have to remember them, just like you don't want to forget them, because some of them never been found. So that's why we have this special table. And it's a small table. It's a place of dignity and honor, and it's set for one. And it symbolizes the fact that members of our armed forces are missing their ranks, and they're referred to as prisoners of wars and missing in action. We call them comrades. They're unable to be with their loved ones and families. So we join together to pay humble tribute to them and to bear witness to their absence. The table small symbolizes the fertility of war prisoner along with its salvage suppressors. The cloth is white, shows purity in their intentions in response to their country's call to arms. The single rose in the vase signifies the blood that they may have shed and sacrificed to see that the freedom of our United States of America. This rose also reminds us of family and friends of our missing comrades who keep faith while waiting their return. The red ribbon on the vase reminds us of the ones who wore on the lapels of many that demand of determination and proper account while our comrades are not among us. A slice of lemon reminds us of the bitter fate. The salt sprinkled on the plate reminds us of the countless volunteers, their families as they wait. The glass is upside down because we can't toast with them. The chair is empty, they're not here. The candle reminds us of the light of hope, which lives in our hearts to light their way home, away from their enemies, to open the arms of a grateful nation. The flag reminds us that many of them may never return and have paid the supreme sacrifice to ensure our freedom. Let us pray, our Heavenly Father, that all our comrades will soon be back within our ranks. And let us remember and never forget their sacrifice. May God forever watch over them and protect them and their families. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Take your seats. And let us not forget those who are still missing in action and our POWs. Well, I always look forward to our keynote speaker here in Gatlinburg. Today's speaker is from Knoxville at one time. He is Lieutenant Colonel Mike Wellock. He was born in Lansing, Michigan, but he grew up in Franklin, Tennessee. He was commissioned in the infantry after graduating with his Bachelor of Arts degree in criminal justice from the University of Tennessee here in Knoxville. He is currently the department head and professor of military science at the University of Tennessee's ROTC program. After he received his commission, he went on to jump school at Fort Benning, now called Fort Moore. His first assignment after a few years here in States was in Iraq. He served there for quite a while. He came back to California. He then went to Kansas. This is where he's been. I'm going to shorten it a little bit. He's been all over the world. And for that, we are grateful for those men and women
and all of our services who protect our freedom around the world. Some of Mike's awards include the Bronze Star, the Army Meritorious Service Medal, not one, but 3, the Army Commendation Medal, not one, but 3, the Army Achievement Medal, not 1, but 4, and all of the other awards that he has received. He also has, if you'll notice, the Ranger tab on his shoulder. It ain't easy going through Ranger School, and of course he's a paratrooper. Not only does he hold his bachelor's in criminal justice from UT, but he has his master's and science degree from the Air University in Maxwell Air Force Base, and another master's of science degree in human resources and organizational development from the University of Louisville. Mike is with his wife Kristen today. They have 2 children, Gary and Elizabeth. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to Mike. Come on up, sir.
Go Balls, number 1. All right, Mayor Werner, thank you. Mr. Dare, thank you. It's going to be hard to follow him in his 55 years of service to the nation and East Tennessee, and for the news, just cover the news, so thank you. Captain Maples, Mrs. Tippy, distinguished guests, fellow veterans, friends, and family. It's an honor, and it's humbling to be standing in front of you today. In Gatlinburg, look at this out here. The sun's trying to peek through, it's beautiful. Gatlinburg Pittman High School Concert Band, you added a touch of prestige and class to this ceremony, so thank you. And Miss Bernice, thank you for coming out here and sharing. I know it's hard to stand in front of these folks and tell you, but you can never forget, so thank you for coming out here. So when I was thinking about this yesterday, I wrote, what a beautiful day in Gatlinburg, and it was raining this morning, and I came out and the sun shined through. So I got my sweat rag, it's perfect, sun's out. And hey, also, what a great day to be an American, right? So like Don said, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Wellock. I'm the professor of military science at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, my alma mater. I've been blessed to be in the infantry for 20 years. Throughout my time, I've had the pleasure to serve with soldiers, sailors, Marines, even the Coast Guard guy. I've served with 1 Coast Guard guy. And then most recently, just here in the homeland with the Guardians of Freedom. I've been to Iraq a few times, Korea, Poland, Kuwait, just all these fun places the government sends us, right? Thank you, Miss Dance back there, who contacted me and reached out. It's such an honor to be here to represent the U.S. men and women that have protected this country. So today is a day that means a great deal to those of us who wore the uniform. Those of you who know what it means to serve, and those of you who understand the profound bond that unites us as veterans. As a veteran, I'm deeply moved by the chance to share my reflections on what it meant to serve, not just to me, but all those who served the call. So I chose a life of service back in 1996 when I joined the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps in Franklin, Tennessee. That was primarily because of my grandfather's influence he had on me. His name was Donald McLean, and he honorably served in the Army for exactly 2 years, March 2nd, 1943 through 1945. My grandfather selected the infantry and volunteered for jump or airborne school because it paid extra money. I can't remember how much he said, but I think it was like $5 extra a month, so I was like, I'll do that. His first time in an aircraft, he exited that perfectly good aircraft with a parachute on his back, so good for him. Then he was subsequently assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division, this patch here on my shoulder, and he deployed to the European theater. His brigade was known as the 504th Parachute Infantry Regiment, also known from by the Germans as the Devils in Baggy Pants. And he had participated in the amphibious invasion of Anzio, Italy. While he was set in a defensive position against an overwhelming German counterattack, my grandfather was shot in the hand, lost 3 of his fingers. Most of his men in his platoon were killed. He was one of 3 captured. He served as a prisoner of war for over 8 months in Germany. and then he was released in a prisoner exchange. My grandfather was proud of his service. He was humbled by all those he served with, and that experience shaped his life in a positive way. You know, fast forward about 60 years, and I had the opportunity to join the infantry. I attended airborne and jump master school, and deployed to Iraq as a platoon leader and executive officer in the 82nd Airborne. Full circle. Today I stand before you both seeing victories and sacrifices of veterans. Veterans Day is not just a time to look back, but a time to remember, to reflect, to feel a renewed sense of pride. We remember our shared stories, a history that sparks the courage, resilience, and countless moments where ordinary men and women made extraordinary choices to protect our country. We had a brief history of Veterans Day when we started, but when we look back, started in 1918, the day the guns of World War I fell silent. Known as Armistice Day, the day was meant to mark the end of a terrible conflict and honor those who served in the war. But as years passed, we realized that peace requires ongoing vigilance, and so Armistice Day became Veterans Day. A day to honor all those who served in all wars, in all branches, in all ways. I'm proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with fellow veterans who contributed in countless ways. Each of us has a unique story. Some of us served on the front lines, others behind the scenes, yet all of us served one common purpose: to protect our nation, our people, and our values. We didn't do it for recognition or reward. We did it because we believed in something bigger than ourselves. Among those stories of incredible heroism, acts that exemplify the courage and sacrifice defines means to serve. So I want to give you two stories of some courageous men. Both just happen to be University of Tennessee graduates too. Throw that in there. One such story is of Captain Larry L. Taylor. In June of 1968, during the Vietnam War, Captain Taylor was a Cobra helicopter pilot, leading a mission to protect a reconnaissance patrol trapped under heavy enemy fire. Larry didn't have much ammunition, and he was fully aware of the risks that he faced. But in the face of danger, he chose to fight back. Using every ounce of ammunition to create a path for those men, when it became clear they couldn't escape on foot, he did something nearly unimaginable. His higher headquarters said, "Come back to base ASAP." Larry said, "No thanks," and he landed his helicopter. It didn't have any seats for those passengers. So he directed those 4 soldiers to jump onto the outer frame of the aircraft, those skids that you see, and they held onto those, and they were extracted under fire. Today, all 4 of those men are still alive. And then, not to forget about my Marine brothers and sisters, there's a story of Hospital Corpsman David R. Ray. David served with the Marines in Vietnam and found himself at the front line of a vicious attack in March of 1969. As a corpsman, his job was to save lives. That's exactly what he did, even when it cost him his own. He went from one wounded Marine to another, ignoring his own injuries until he could not anymore. In his final moments, David protected the others by shielding them, by laying on top of them from a coming attack. Both of these warriors were awarded the Medal of Honor, the highest award our country offers. A reflection of their willingness to sacrifice themselves for their comrades in arms. Stories like these remind us of events that veterans, we share an unbreakable commitment to each other, a commitment that transcends even our own safety. While not all of us have levels of stories of heroism, we each have changed our life. We carry memories of nights on watch, the camaraderie we shared on long deployments, or of fear, and facing fears, just pushing through it. There were times we didn't know if we were even going to come home and see our loved ones. But we held fast because we were part of something bigger than ourselves and we were serving with each other. As veterans, we don't just put memories and moments, we carry them with us. They are a part of who we are. And when we return to civilian life, those lessons don't leave us. Veterans continue to serve long after they take off the uniform. They become leaders in the community. Teachers, public servants, advocates, newscasters. We face many struggles. Many face struggles, whether they're physical wounds or those invisible scars. The bond we share as veterans continue to carry us through, and the strength we find in each other remains powerful for us. Now, I do want to take a moment to thank all of you, all of our friends, our families, and our communities. We don't serve alone. We're supported by all of you, by your prayers, by your letters, the care packages, by the comfort of knowing we have people back home who care. Your love gave us strength, even when they were miles away. And to those who continue to support the veterans today, whether through service of community, advocacy, or simply just by lending a helping ear, an understanding ear, know that your support is essential to this journey. You remind us that our sacrifices are valued, that we are remembered, and that our service continues to make a difference. At the same time, we must recognize that all veterans have found peace in their service. Some of our fellow veterans face significant challenges. They carry physical, emotional wounds, and too often they feel alone. It's our responsibility as a nation to ensure that they are supported, that they are seen, and they receive the care they need. Veterans have given so much, and we owe them just the words. We owe them more than words. We owe them our unwavering support today and every day. But Veterans Day is not just about honoring the past. We have to look to the future as well. Sacrifices we made were not just for our own generation, but for the future ones. As we reflect on our service, we're reminded of our responsibility to continue building a world worthy of those sacrifices. Our service taught us about duty and honor, and we carry the commitment into everything we do as civilians. We continue to give back and make our community stronger and work towards a brighter future. I ask each of you to remember not just our stories, but the stories and the legacy we carry. We've been through battles, both seen and unseen, but we stand here united, bound by our service, our experiences, and our love for country. We don't always wear our uniforms anymore, but our commitment endures. Despite the wounds we carry, either physically, mentally, or emotionally, we do take comfort in the idea that sacrifice is worth it to preserve this great nation. American values, the importance of humane life, every individual's right to liberty, the freedom to live and worship one's God free of oppression and persecution, give significance to the sacrifice made by our family and service members and their families. We live in the greatest country on earth. Defending her comes at a cost. But that cost, however painful it may be, is worth the preservation of our citizens' inalienable rights endowed by the Creator. Again, I want to thank all of you for being here today. Nothing be more better than hear the appreciation from a society that we're sworn to. The last thing I want to say is if you've been to Tennessee's campus, there's a pedestrian walkway, and several key members from the Eastern Tennessee Military Affairs Committee and several members of UT's Army ROTC Council dedicated a memorial named the University of Tennessee Armed Forces Veterans Memorial. It memorializes 367 Americans who attended, graduated, or taught at the University of Tennessee campuses, both Memphis, Knoxville, and Chattanooga, since World War I. The inscription reads, "The spirit of a volunteer. It's a bond that ties us together, the people of this great state, with a legacy of service that we strive to uphold. Throughout our history, the spirit of the volunteer has defined us as Tennesseans. There's no great example of that spirit than the men and women who gave the meaning of sacrifice in the service to members of the United States Armed Forces. This memorial honors the memory of the University of Tennessee students, faculty, and staff that gave their lives in service to our nation in defense of freedom around the world. Those who made the ultimate sacrifice for their country have earned their respect as the finest example of the volunteer spirit." Thank you.
Mike, thank you so much. Now we can see why those cadets at UT ROTC program, how well they are led. Thank you so much. Let's give them another round. One more thing. Riley Doty, would you please come up? As you play America.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, forever waves of rain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited
for your words of inspiration. Bernie, thank you for Billy. And thank you for coming out today. What a great day this has been. And I know you have a great day to look forward to here at Gatlinburg as well. Thank you for showing your respect to veterans who have served and protected our wonderful nation. At this time, I would like to welcome the Gatlinburg Pittman High School Chorus and the band that they lead us in our final song. And we appreciate your attendance, and thank you, all of you who served, and have a successful and wonderful Veterans Day. All right.